This is Tim Eckes from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm on this evening with Bethany Anne Lind, actress. She lives here in Atlanta area, and many of you have seen her in The Walking Dead, The Stranger Things, Ozark, Mean Girls 2, Blood on Her Name, and a lot of Metro Atlanta acting and acting beyond Atlanta. So thank you so much for joining me, and please tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into acting.
Thanks, Tim. Good to be here.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I studied theater in college at Campbell University, which is in North Carolina, a small liberal arts school, and came to Atlanta about 15 years ago, thinking I'll start here and then I'll, move to New York probably and be on Broadway or and then all this film work started coming to Atlanta about 10 years ago, and it just seemed like the best place to be and to be on the front end of it. A lot of actors have started moving here even from Los Angeles and uh, plenty of places. So to be here kind of on the ground floor was a good thing for me in my career, that I got to kind of grow along with the industry here.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was doing plays for a long time around Atlanta at the Alliance Theater where we work together,
Yeah.
and most of the theaters in town. And then I started doing some more regional theater,
Mhm.
even as far as like I worked at La Jolla Playhouse, which is out near San Diego,
Oh,
which was
cool.
gorgeous
Oh,
place to
yeah.
be.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I just started getting small roles here and there in film and television, and that's led to more to bigger roles and also additional smaller smaller roles.
Yes.
So it's great. It's
Mhm.
the last year has been insane for everyone, of course, but um,
Yes.
we'll see what the industry does from here, but it seems to be slowly picking back up again now.
Wonderful. Yeah, for those of you who are not in Atlanta or Georgia, Georgia has become, I think, the #1 state for film production. That
Yeah.
some of those shows that I mentioned are filmed here. And many of you have seen the Bellwood Quarry, the quarry that's been used in so many of the movies. But so when you get done with this, please look her up on IMDb and see the body of work. So we're going to talk about your career. We'll also talk about stuttering in film and acting, and then also
Mhm.
stuttering in real life and how movie portrayals, theater, and acting have helped change the narrative of stuttering, which thank you to you guys for helping. This is a very important cause. A lot of times our celebrities, our theater and film help to set a new storyline
Mm.
for things in real life like stuttering. So you and I were put together like 2011. There's
Mhm.
a play at Carapace. It was called Carapace, which we'll get to in just a little bit. And I was asked to help coach you with your stuttering in your role, which was phenomenal. I enjoyed it very much. Is there
Mm.
anyone in your family that stutters by any chance?
No, but I did have two friends growing up who did.
Mhm.
One in when I was in middle school and high school, and one in college. So I did
Yeah,
have people I was close to who
yeah,
had.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah. Um, they say about 5 million in America stutter, about 60 million worldwide stutter. So
Hmm.
stuttering is
Hmm.
a spectrum of sort. You can have somebody who's a
Yeah.
covert stutterer who people don't really know the person stutters because they spend their day word changing and avoiding. And then you can have
Right.
a very overt stutter, a very physical stutter. And your character had one.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I see a lot of times mild stuttering is in scripts to demonstrate maybe
Mm.
fear or uncertainty. And I just rewatched portions of Ozark season 1, and
Mm-hmm.
episode 7, your character Grace she stutters. And then I kept watching. Season 1 has a lot of stuttering. Jason Bateman
Really?
stutters, and
That's
Laura Linney
true.
stutters. So
Mm-hmm.
not only is it, do you hear the person stutter, but if you put the subtitles on your screen, it'll say stammers or
Mm.
stutters. So please tell us a little bit about,
Huh.
how stuttering is used to emphasize the emotions.
Yeah. Well, I think it's two things. I think sometimes it is scripted and
Mhm.
the writers use it, whether it's an ellipses, I, ellipses, I, or whatever, to demonstrate, yeah, maybe fear, apprehension, also maybe a character coming up with what they're going to say,
Mhm.
not sure of themselves and what they're trying to say. So, and now that you mentioned Jason Bateman, I can hear what you're saying. He does do that a lot as his character, and his character is always on edge, right? Always like
Mhm.
trying to figure out what the next move is. So that makes sense to me now that you say that he uses that. And I don't know that, I don't remember if it's written in or if that's just part of the character he's put on.
Yeah.
And I know that for me, you I just did it just now. I use it as an actor, whether it's written or not, for things like we said, to demonstrate
Yes.
that coming up with the next words is often what
Mhm.
it is. The character taking the time to um, think about what she's saying and then stops herself.
So you can kind of put that in if you feel like it'll give something to that line, to that moment, even if it's
Yeah,
not exactly written into the script.
right.
That
I
makes
I
sense.
feel like I mean, for the most part, you stick to the script, but if it's something like that where it is, you're
Mhm.
still sticking to the script, but
Mhm.
you're adding, obviously, you're adding the emotion behind it and all that. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely something we use.
I was reading about tonal stuttering, Tonal, how
Mm-hmm.
a preacher may stutter on purpose for emphasis, like,
Hmm.
and down from the mountain he came.
Oh yes,
So,
I grew up
just,
in church. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, pretty cool. Um, so I understand you have children of your own. All the fans of Ozark are thrilled to find out that Grace, the, everyone wanted her baby, that Bethany Anne Lind got to keep her kids.
Yes, in real life.
Yeah, and season 3 has a mind-blowing end. Sorry,
Oh my
it's a
goodness.
bad pun. Okay, another thing that some people know about is how many actors stutter in real life.
Hmm.
James Earl Jones, Bruce Willis, Emily Blunt, Samuel Jackson, to name a few.
Yeah.
All
Huh.
4 of them stutter in real life. Yet, I don't think you can find a stutter when they're acting. I've
Mm-hmm.
never, and I listen carefully. I have followed Joe Biden's speech pattern for 35 years. I listen very carefully to anyone
Mm.
who has a history of stuttering. But anyways, I have what I believe explains how an actor who stutters in real life never stutters in a role. Do you have an idea?
Mm. No,
Mhm.
other than practice and having the script, but yeah, no. What's your
Mhm.
theory?
My theory revolves around, one, it's memorized. Like you said, you have your script, you've
Mm-hmm.
memorized your script. And anything that's memorized, like I pledge allegiance to the flag, right? That's helpful. The other thing is you go into a different identity. Your
Hmm.
identity as a stutterer is not present. And in addition to these people I mentioned, and you look in their movies, you'll never hear them stutter. I've had clients in my office, children in high school, for example, who have severe stutters, and their parents will say, "We've been dying to ask you, Our son was in a play last year. He had 15 really long lines. He never stuttered. We've got on video. Do you want to see it? And
Wow.
everyone after the play said, oh, like Tim didn't stutter. What
Oh,
happened?
huh.
So when we go into it, like I'm Julius Caesar, you go into a different character, the identity isn't present. Like you have no reference for stuttering. That has to be it. We know
Yeah.
that little children will whisper or use a character voice to not stutter. I see it in my office all the time. So
Hmm.
shifting identity, interesting.
Yes.
Mhm.
Fascinating.
We've seen movies that where stuttering was portrayed and it ended up being mocked and ridiculed,
Mm.
bullying.
Mm-hmm.
A fish called Wanda is the one that raises my short hairs the most.
Mm.
When the character is mocked and laughed at for stuttering.
Mm.
And in Stephen King's It Part 1 and Part 2, the one character who stutters, I forgot his first name, but in the first, he's a child who stutters, and it's a sensitivity part of his temperament. It played pretty well. Part 2, I
Mm-hmm.
personally thought it was contrived,
Mm.
the way the stuttering was used. That's just
Mm.
me. Um, Mel Tillis was in the Smokey and the Bandit movies.
Mm-hmm.
Now he was cast into the movies because of his stutter.
Oh, okay.
I have the book that he wrote, and he says, and this is horrible, when they were on set, if he didn't stutter, the director would say, cut, and they would refilm the scene
Oh,
until Mel
wow.
stuttered. That's in his own words.
Oh,
I know. So his stuttering was exploited. I don't know what era,
yeah.
like the 70s maybe.
Yeah.
So I was a child who stutters, and I was about 10 or 12 years old, and I was watching the Carson show. I really liked Johnny Carson.
Mm-hmm.
I liked his wit. I liked his little grin he had.
Mm-hmm.
And his live crowd is probably 1,000 people. I'd have to guesstimate. It was big. So he had Mel Tillis on, and Mel Tillis apparently had a farm, and he had swans in his pond. So Mel is up on stage with Johnny Carson. Mel begins to block, which are very severe stutters. And he was
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
say the word swan. And as he's blocking on swan, he's using an arm gesture like the neck of a swan. Johnny Carson is biting his lip, trying not to explode into laughter, but the whole audience of adults, I was a kid who stutters, and I went, oh, I mean,
Mm.
I remember the moment right now when I saw it. I was mortified. How can these people
Yeah.
laugh at stuttering? So those are some of my points, is how it used to be okay to make fun of stutter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's changing, and we'll get to that in a minute. Something that was kind of
Mm.
cute I saw on Netflix, the Count Dracula 2-part series that was in 2020. Count Dracula, who was played by Klaus Bang, I think I'm saying his name correctly. So he's on a ship coming back to America, or going to America, and he bites the neck of the person who's steering the sailboat. Well, the person who's steering the sailboat has a stutter on S words. So he drinks his blood. He re-enters a scene, and the first thing Count Dracula does is he stutters like the person he just drank from.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, no, you didn't. Did you really write that in? But I thought that was
Oh.
cute. So do you have any thoughts about, films you've seen where stuttering was
I'm I'm trying to remember. I
mocked?
remember, not that I can recall. I remember. So I was a kid in the 80s,
Mhm,
and I feel like at that point it was it was probably still mocked to a degree in
mhm,
culture, but I feel
yeah,
like it was starting to be frowned upon.
yeah,
Like, and like I said, I had a friend, I guess it was about 7th grade
Mm.
when he and I became friends. And there would be times where, you could hear some people would start to mock him, maybe quietly behind, not to his face.
Mhm.
But then you would see other kids who were very, who would stand up for him, like it
Mhm.
wasn't okay. So I feel like I was kind of at a little bit of a shifting point there where it wasn't,
Mhm.
you didn't see it mocked on TV much. I remember the King's Speech came out. I
Mm.
feel like around when we were working together.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
What did you think about that one?
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
In fact, it was virtually exactly the time because the Atlanta Journal did an article on the two of us
That's right.
and the play, and they referenced the King's Speech.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I've listened to the recording of King George VI that's in the
Mm.
archives of Great Britain. And King George VI not only had a stutter, but he had an articulation thing. His articulation was not clear and crisp.
Mm.
And Firth nailed both. It's one thing for me to speak and then all of a sudden throw in a stutter,
Mhm.
keeping my normal register, if you will, throw in my stutters. But when you have to have a baseline of misarticulation and throw in the stuttering and blocking,
Right.
I sat in awe.
Yeah.
That movie won 4 Academy Awards.
That's right.
Jeffrey Rush, I thought, was amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I watched the awards that year, the
Mhm.
whole series, and Jeffrey Rush was up for Best Supporting in every major. But here's the thing. The Fighter was the same year. And
Right.
Christian Bale
Uh-huh.
snatched Best Supporting in
Oh.
every major. I watched Jeffrey Rush in the audience,
Oh.
and it was like, I mean, Rush was amazing in that movie.
He was so good.
So
So
some
good.
people said, finally a hero who stutters,
Yeah.
right? King
Right.
George VI
Yeah.
joined the war on Nazi Germany.
Mhm.
That was an important moment. We all know that. And his
Yeah.
therapist, Logue was the name of the character, helped him prepare for that important
Mm.
speech.
Mhm.
Um, yes, it was almost the same time. The timing couldn't have been better.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, well, let's move into your play that I met you through. You were
Mhm.
cast into a play at the Alliance Theater called Carapace. A carapace is the hard external shell of a turtle or a crustacean, which is a metaphor for
Mhm.
somebody can have a shell around themselves if they
Mhm.
stutter. So, and when the Alliance Theater told you, hey, we're going to send you to this guy's office, he stutters, but he's going to help you stutter. You're like, what is this a prank?
Yeah. He helps people not stutter. So he's going to actually help you to stutter.
Wait, what?
We're going to
Mhm.
reverse engineer this.
Yeah. But
I was
anyways,
so grateful. I was,
yeah.
I didn't want to certainly didn't want to caricature anything and didn't want to do anything
Mhm.
that wasn't authentic,
Mhm.
so I was so grateful to have you on board and
Mhm.
your knowledge of all those uh, the different kinds and what would be authentic and
Yeah.
even the psychology behind it, all of
Mhm.
that was so useful.
Yeah. Well, tell us how you were selected into the cast, and um, tell us a little bit about the director and some of your cast members. Some of them are big names outside of Atlanta, and some of them are big names in Atlanta. And it all I want to say this right. Is it the Candida playwriting contest? Did I
Mm-hmm.
say it right?
Yeah, you
So-
did. Yes. That's
Okay. So it
there's
was,
a, yeah, they host a Candida playwriting festival every year where they select a play by a graduating master's playwriting student. So people submit their plays and they choose three that get staged readings and one that gets a full production. So this one was the one that won. It was by David Robinson, who is very talented and a
mhm.
very dear person. Um, and yeah, so that was how they picked it. And then they had auditions. Uh, and my character had to be, she had to be 15 at one point, and then I think 18 and then 21. She kind of aged through the
Mhm.
play as they showed the journey that the father was on. And so I don't remember what scenes I had to audition with. There were just a couple. I think one as the kid version and one as the adult version probably. And like I said, I having the friends who had stuttered, I tried to just put a little bit of them into it
Mhm.
basically when I was auditioning,
Yeah.
and tried to, even knowing them and how when they would get caught up on things, just how that affects their psyche and their um, how they were able to proceed. And so I just felt like I channeled them the as best as I could for the
Mhm.
audition. While and the audition was also, they were very clear, like, don't worry so much about the stutter for the audition. We will have someone who would, he'll coach you. Think more about how you would play the character and what she's like and her mental process and all that. So I did try to just focus more on that for the audition, and all the technical stuff came in more when you were on board. And then
Uh,
yeah, the cast, and Judith Ivey directed. She's
mhm.
a Broadway and TV and film actor and director.
Mhm.
She's wonderful and warm and just had such great insight. And we talked to her in a couple years, but we kept in touch for quite
Mhm.
a while. And she was always she's always willing to, you know, hear me out if I'm having a question about
Mhm.
a character or my career or whatever. She's been very kind and open to
Mhm.
me. And all the rest of the cast were guys. Uh, David DeVries played my father, Mark Kincaid, Paul Hester, Tony Larkin, and Joe Knezovich. I think that
Mhm.
might have been the whole cast.
Mhm.
All great, great actors, and
Yes.
all good friends of mine.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So your character, um, your father had some issues with your stuttering. He felt like he wasn't able to help you as a child, and he
Mm-hmm.
carried guilt. And that
Mm-hmm.
played out in some of his lines. And then, you would appear, but you could just tell that it created pain. He had ghosts from your childhood stuttering. The thing about that is that in real life, if you have a child who stutters, it's possible for you as a parent to carry a lot of weight. It
Mm.
can depend upon the severity of the stuttering, how it affects the child, if you know they're being teased and bullied or holding back.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was something real about the play and David and the directing and everything, that this relationship of a father who questioned, did he offer his child everything when she was younger? And
Mm.
he knew that, the stuttering still bothered her, that resonated. I saw probably 4 of the live shows. I was there for the first and then the last and then 2 in between, but I remember
Mm-hmm.
on the first night, I'm sitting behind a man and woman, and when you came out and you started stuttering and your head was kinda going up and down, a couple right in front of me, this woman turns and she goes, "Oh, honey, ooh, that's quite a stutter."
Oh.
And And I wanted to tap him on the back and say, yeah, I kind of taught her that. But no, it was real. It was real. And we're going to get into that here in a second. And that is very typically when I'm shown a script, and in addition, I've been involved in, I think, 6 different either films or plays with Stuttering, and I'm about to do another one being filmed in Prague or London, I
Great.
think. But anyways, as you said, you wanted it to be authentic and sincere, and that's when we met. I said to you, this is like a paint palette with different colors. I'm going to start stuttering in different ways, and you tell me what's your gut instinct for the character, for if it's a marked or pretty severe stutter, yet we could make it so profound that it could take away timing and so forth and so on. So anyways, a lot of it were on plosives, P,
Yes.
B, T, D, K, G, J. So your lip plosives, P and B, your tongue plosives, T, D, K, G, J. A lot of scripts play on plosives and it makes sense. So you had, I remember with P's and B's, quite there was you would breathe in a little bit and press your lips, or a before, or a T, you know, so you did a fantastic job of making them consistent, because I watched, I think, 4 nights. They were super consistent. They were just right, Bethany. They were just right. In the Atlanta Journal, their photograph was of you blocking, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Oh, right. Yep.
is there anything else you want to add to that experience of stuttering on stage?
Just hearing you say that, it's been so long since I, visited the script, but it's certainly one of my favorite plays that I've done. And I've done a good number of plays, and people always ask me, what my favorite was. And I can't really choose a favorite, but that's always in the top 3 that I mention. And hearing you mention the plosives and the inhaling, it's just kind of coming back to me. I feel a little emotional, actually. It was just so it's just such a powerful piece. And she she just wanted to communicate, which we all want to do, and as actors, we're taught to you find your you have the thing that you want, and then there are obstacles that get in your way, and you kind of know what the obstacles are to getting what you want. And for her obstacle to be so clear and so hard to overcome is just, it was very powerful.
Yeah. Yes. When you want to advocate for yourself, maybe somebody is harassing you and you want to advocate for yourself. Unfortunately, you're having so much difficulty talking. I personally had a severe stutter through college, and I can't tell you how many times that played out for me.
I'm sure.
So a pastiche is a work of visual art, literature, theater, or music that imitates the style or character of the work of one or more other artists. Unlike parody, pastiche should celebrate, not mock, the work that it imitates. I think you fulfilled that. Do you?
Sorry, you froze for just a second.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that last part?
Well, a pastiche, unlike a parody, a pastiche will celebrate, not mock, the work that it imitates.
Oh, yes. Right.
Definition
Oh,
of a pastiche.
I hope so.
Yeah, you definitely did that. Firth did that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
mock stuttering. You want to, as they say, it celebrates it.
Yeah,
There's a huge difference. Sometimes stuttering
definitely.
is put in and it's very contrived. It's like, did you? It's, or no, it's like you can just look at it and say, that person is so faking stuttering. But so how is it different, TV acting versus movie, TV and
Mhm.
movie versus live theater?
Yeah.
When you're on a set at something like The Walking Dead or in Ozark, and they're like, you know, you go live.
Hmm.
Do you ever get nervous? Did you used to get nervous?
I always get a little bit nervous.
Mhm.
I keep thinking I'll get over it one day, but I know I'm always a little bit nervous unless I just don't care about the thing, which,
Mhm.
I try to do as few of the things that I don't care about as
Mhm.
possible. Um, but no, and now that when I think about it now, though, I think it's because I'm so lucky. I'm
Mhm.
so lucky that I get to do this thing. And so if I'm nervous, that just reminds me
Mhm.
I'm alive. I'm lucky that I'm here and feel it all and
Yes.
use it as best I can.
And there's a difference between anxiety but butterflies. That was a good stutter on a B there for you.
Exactly.
Butterflies, the way I rate them down in my stomach and soma is like a 1 or 2. So let's
Mm,
pretend I'm about to teach a class. I'm going to be teaching for 2 hours and I'm introduced by somebody and I'm about to, take over for 150 people, whatever. I
hmm.
have butterflies, which means I'm ready to perform. And that's
Yes.
somewhere in the chest and stomach area. If someone
Yes.
says it's like a 4 or 5, 6, 7, that's more anxiety.
Totally.
So you got some butterflies. It's showtime. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
it sounds like. Now, being in Broadway or the Alliance Theater when you're doing, I don't know, could it be 20, 30 nights on a play? Is that possible?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To consistently produce, what is that like?
That oh, I miss it. I haven't done a play in 3 years.
Mm,
And I miss it terribly.
mm,
But and obviously we all are from no one's been on stage in a year for the most part. But
yes.
it I would say the rehearsal process is a big part of that. It's kind of like I would say a good analogy is that theater is like running a marathon and
Mm,
film and TV is more like running sprints.
mhm,
So you're building up eh, different muscles.
mhm.
So the rehearsal process is a big part of, you know, building to what you
Mhm.
do want to sustain night after night.
Yeah.
And it kind of is the muscle memory too. You kind of
Mhm.
get into a groove of what you're doing. And but again, still there's a live audience there. Anything could happen.
Mhm.
uh and so that's where those butterflies come in, and they
Yeah.
often, the adrenaline gets to you and keeps you going. And but you
Yeah.
remember those, like I said, you know what your character wants, and if
Mhm.
all else fails, you just focus on that thing you remember
Yeah.
that you want, and that
Yeah.
that keeps you driving the train.
Yeah. When I came down to the theater to watch the practice,
Hmm.
cast members would be, just kind of sitting and then waiting for their line. And I sat in awe to see firsthand how somebody would stand up and go into character like a light switch. So maybe they were having a little
Hmm.
snack and waiting for their turn.
Yes.
They'd stand up. It's like, bam. And one of the things I'm so impressed with is your ability and others to project your voice.
Mm.
Coaches need to know how to do that from the diaphragm, to project from the diaphragm.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they'll go hoarse. So many people
Totally.
will go to the Braves game, for example, and scream, umpire you, and they're
Uh-huh.
screaming from their larynx, and they can't speak for 2 days.
Yeah.
But and then, when we go to theater, we know that those people woke up in New York City, maybe walked down to Times Square, changed into whatever they're wearing for the night. They're
Mhm.
people like us. They're just more talented than me. I know that. But it really is amazing how the art, the craft of acting, how people can just go into such an intense character
Mhm.
like a light switch.
Yeah.
Truly is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we are all starving for theater.
Mm.
I really feel for all of the people, whether they're crew members from a rock band or the people that work at the theater who seat us and take care of us, to
Mm.
the actors and actresses and everybody else involved. Um, I saw Collective Soul here in Atlanta in
Nice.
November of 2019 around Thanksgiving
Mm.
in person,
Mhm.
and A Christmas Carol at the Alliance Theater in the very first row center.
I
And I'm so thirsty for play again. So hopefully it's
know.
coming. I know they're filming a lot more. There's more dropping onto Netflix, as they say.
Mhm.
A type of stuttering we haven't mentioned that I just wanted to mention really quickly, and this happens in real life. Somebody could have what we call a neurogenic stutter. So if somebody's had brain trauma or a stroke, maybe they're in a
Mhm.
car wreck and their head is hit violently and they have a brain injury, it's a unique type of stuttering. In my clinical practice, I've helped countless people who have had that type of stutter.
Mm.
Sometimes what's also involved in those cases is going to court, being deposed, that kind of thing,
Mm.
which is an opportunity for me to have some butterflies talking
Oh,
when
I bet.
when you're under oath and you're being videoed and sworn in and everything. But anyways, neurogenic stuttering is very interesting. In many cases, the person stutters on every syllable of every word. So it could be
Mm.
like, I'm talking king to Beth Annie
Mm.
Anne Lind.
Huh.
So anyone out there who's acting, if it's a neurogenic stutter caused by a stroke or brain injury, that's your closest bet to how that stuttering is.
Wow.
Now, somebody who has stuttering that is caused by sudden onset like that, an acute onset, let's pretend the person's in their 40s and they've never stuttered, and all of a sudden, unfortunately, they're hurt and they begin stuttering. It's only a matter of weeks before they develop the emotions,
Mm.
because their loved ones come to visit them and they're stuttering and they see the facial
Mm.
reaction of their loved ones, or they go out to eat for the first time and they're, believe me, I mean, I've had clients, it's just a matter of weeks. So if anyone,
Wow.
I know, but think about it, you begin to project. That's what it's called.
Sure.
Someone sees you stutter, their eyes get big, they're trying to assist you.
Right.
And I know people, again, they've had no history of stuttering and they can develop the identity of a stutterer in
Mm.
a matter of weeks. So that's a unique role. I don't know if I've seen that before in a movie. I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not that I can
Yeah.
think of.
Do you have any more tips for people who maybe who are being cast into a role that stutters?
Well, hire Tim,
Ah,
obviously. No, I think, well, I think even what I was given for the audition, which was approach it from the inside first, maybe, and
yeah.
think about just what it's like to live, to
Mhm.
to move through the world, with exactly what you just said, seeing
Yeah.
how people
Mhm.
are reacting to you
Right.
and how that then makes you react to them and react to
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
And thinking about that all helps
Mm.
once you get to the
Yeah.
that technical stuff,
Right,
for
and then
sure.
thinking about that in the play, your father was distraught about your stuttering, and you had strong thoughts and feelings about your stuttering, and that had to show on the stage.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, through acting in life, what have you learned about a human condition called stuttering?
Hmm. My headphone just fell
Mhm.
up. um oh, that's a big question.
Mhm.
I think there was something for me, my way in personally, besides knowing people who had experienced life
Mhm.
that way, was knowing I'm a very just shy person generally.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I don't have the words that I would like to have. I have a feeling and I know I have a thought, but I can't articulate it because
Mhm.
it takes me longer to process things than
Mhm.
someone who's very quick, which, someone who stutters could actually be the complete opposite of that. Often they have the words and there's the impediment.
Mhm.
But for me, that was the way in, was knowing that I know I have something to say. I just can't
Mhm.
get it out, and how frustrating that can be.
Well, I would imagine then that when you are uncorked on stage, that that's really thrilling to you. If you're
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
shy nature, but you get on the stage with the lights and the audience reacting to you, that's gotta be a rush.
Yeah, it can be very cathartic
Oh, interesting.
to, to get to live
Mhm.
live some of those things out.
Mhm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a group called say.org that people can look up online, and they use a lot of theater and acting for kids who stutter.
Hmm.
Pretty
It's
cool.
so great.
Mhm. And yeah, um, so I wanna get into acting, and I want you to help me, and so I can sing like Will Ferrell when he sings to James Caan in Elf, and I can dance like Steve Carell in Date Night. So, can you get me a Hugh Jackman type role, singing and dancing? Is that
I
possible?
cannot. But I'll
Gotta
keep an
ask.
eye out for you. I'll keep an
Okay.
eye out. I'll drop your name next time anyone asks
Yeah,
for
just
that
remember.
person.
Just remember. Surely that's gonna come. But, when we met and we started to work on stuttering, could anyone have imagined that the President of the United States stutters? That one
Yeah,
day, someone sitting in the White House grew up with a stutter, and that's Joe Biden, of
yeah.
course. It tells
It's
children
amazing.
it tells children, you know, "Be courageous, speak up, speak your mind, debate if you need to,
Mhm.
and, shoot for the shoot for the moon," "Try to
Yeah.
try to be your best self." Um, what productions do you have right now? Is there anything that we can see you in coming up?
There no theater yet.
Mhm.
Hopefully, I'm hoping that'll be coming up soon.
It's
Like I
coming.
said, I'm itching to do a play.
Mhm.
But I'm in a movie called Chaos Walking that's in theaters right now. I'm very pretty small part in that. I play Tom Holland's mom in a
Mm.
flashback.
Yeah.
And we talked about a little bit earlier, Blood on Her Name. You can I think it's on all the places you can rent movies. Vudu, and I think you can rent it on Amazon, you
Okay.
iTunes, all those places. It's called Blood on Her Name.
Mhm.
I'm the lead in that, and we shot that here in Georgia. And it's a fun, quick 90-minute thriller kind of a movie.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, those are the latest things.
Mhm. Well, that's great. So
Yeah.
again, your work, if you look up on IMDb, you can see just, I was truly impressed. I was like, wow, you've done so much just in the last 10 years or so.
True. Since we,
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, you just, movies, acting, actors, actresses, the narrative of stuttering is changing. I want to thank you for the
Mm,
role you did. I've listed some movies from eras that it was pretty sickening to be a person
mm,
who stutters and to see how people, mocked it, laughed
mm,
at it, people got bullied. So um, I hope people hear this who are in the film industry, that in the future, that people who stutter, if they're portrayed in a movie or a role, that the whole thing is respected, because
mhm.
the impact that stuttering has on people who stutter can be really, really difficult. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah, I want to thank you for your
Yeah.
time tonight. It was great to see you again.
You too. Thank you so much.
And so far, my fave moment teaching someone to stutter is you.
Oh, thanks.
So I really hope that theater opens, even if it's partial audience and live
Yes.
streaming, right?
Yeah.
I think they can do that safely soon. So,
Yeah. I'm seeing a little of it. So I
yeah.
hope so too.
I wish you the very best, and I hope to see you again soon.
Same to you. Thanks so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Good
good
night.
one.
Good night.
Good night.